Throughout the public input meeting, if you look at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you can see the microphone and the video portion. Feel free to be on video if you really want to, but please make sure that you're muted so we don't hear any background noise or any feedback throughout the process here. As Mark mentioned, feel free to use the chat feature to share your thoughts and questions during the meeting. Throughout the meeting, keep an eye on that as far as the potential links that we'll share through the chat feature. And at any time that you feel like you had enough and you need to leave, you can leave the meeting by using the bottom right-hand corner button that says leave the meeting. But hopefully you'll have a few minutes to stay with us today and provide your feedback. We're looking forward to it. And so our next slide is our project background. So how did we get here? Back in 2011, we had a Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Master Plan. And so the Comprehensive Master Plan looked at all the various programs and facilities that we have throughout the village. And one of the key recommendations out of the Comprehensive Master Plan was to create a site-specific master plan for West Pinehurst Park. And so that's kind of what we're doing today. And over the next several weeks here is creating a site-specific master plan by gathering feedback from the community and working with our consultants to put a nice product out there. As we transitioned from the 2011 Comprehensive Master Plan, we conducted another comprehensive plan village-wide, which was Envision the Village. That was in 2019. Out of that plan, it recommended, again, the creation and implementation of a site-specific master plan for the West Pinehurst Community Park site. And then over those years and up until today, we have continuing to have conversations with the general public about future park needs and wants throughout the village. We've had a lot of great activities so far on our Engage Pinehurst site and on our social media platforms, providing various feedback on the amenities and what they might want to see at the West Pinehurst Community Park. So we look forward to your feedback today and throughout the process. And we'll go to the next slide.
All right, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the great introduction there. My name is Rachel Cotter. I'm the project manager from the McAdams side of things, and just wanted to thank everyone for coming today and providing your input and just being present with us. We're really excited about this project and the potential of this park. So community engagement is something that we focus on in every project, and I really want to hear what you all have to say about the park and your vision for the future. So just a little bit about the project team that's here with you and working on the project with the village. Again, my name is Rachel Cotter, project manager with McAdams. I'm a landscape architect and I lead our civic spaces group. So we are a group of planners, landscape architects and civil engineers dedicated to designing and building public facilities and parks and trails. So this is our bread and butter, and we're just really excited to be working on this project. My parents also live in the village, so I have a personal interest in the project and I'm down there frequently. So really, really excited to see where this goes. Julie Young is also a landscape architect with McAdams, and she is leading the design portion of the project, and we'll be talking to you a little bit about the opportunities that we see for the park. Sonia Shaw is our senior planner and equity specialist. So Sonia was actually a Parks and Rec director herself and is very, very familiar with the parks planning process, and is going to be able to provide us with a really unique perspective about the long-term vision and operations of the park as we move forward. And then Jen Beadle is also one of our star park planners. Jen was originally with Recreation Resource Services with a partnership between NC State and state parks. And we are just really excited to have her as part of the process and helping out with any potential grant funding as well. So we are your project team. We're coming to you from McAdams. We're a multidisciplinary design firm. We work for all municipalities across the state on parks and greenway projects. So not only are we a team of designers, but we also have engineers. So we'll be looking at this from a very practical perspective when it comes to implementation of the project as well. And with, let's see, the process that we're going to be using is a pretty typical master planning process. This usually begins with an inventory and analysis. So we've all been out to the park site. We have done quite a bit of data collection and information gathering. A lot of it's readily available on GIS. But we're also looking at things on the site like park access and any access or connections to utilities. What's parking like? What's circulation like? What type of features exist out on the site from a natural perspective? What's the topography like? What's the condition of the pond? So we've done our preliminary investigation, and we are now moving into the community engagement phase of the project. So there's a number of opportunities for you all to provide your input. This is the first of many. We'll also be providing you with a link to a questionnaire or a survey at the end of this process. And then there'll be a second community engagement meeting towards the end of the project, so we can share the results of the master plan. Once we've received some preliminary feedback from the community, we'll be moving into the design phase. So we'll be developing some concepts to share with Mark and Dave and the village and also the community to get feedback. So asking you, did we listen? Did we hear you? Are these the things that you want to see in the future? Is this meet your vision for this park? And then we'll finally be presenting the adopted the master plan for adoption by the village council towards the end of the project. And right now, we're anticipating this project will run through the fall, about mid-September. And with that, I will turn it over to Julie Young to talk a little bit about the existing site conditions and some of the opportunities on site.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I'm Julie Young, landscape architect. I'll be working to develop the design for the West Pinehurst Community Park master plan. This relies heavily on, obviously, the village's feedback on their recreational needs, as well as it relies heavily on the feedback from you. So I'll be here to listen to you today to help work to incorporate all these into the design. Next slide, please. A critical component to the design of the park is understanding the site. As Rachel mentioned, the project team has all been out there, and we were able to gather a lot of information at site. And what it revealed at first was this incredible site with all these great recreational opportunities, because there's a lot of great different spaces to work with. Next slide, please. During our site visit, we looked at the existing infrastructure. This does pose somewhat of a constraint. The site is somewhat rural in character, so there are some limiting factors to what available infrastructure is out there today. We also looked at it as it is also a great destination today as well, because it has the disc golf course where people come to use that. And we also saw people the park as a place to enjoy nature and use some of the existing walking trails. We also saw that there's a lot of great ecotones on site, as well as some great topography to work with for other recreational opportunities. Next slide, please. We took our findings and created an opportunities and constraints map. This map is showing you where the property is located. As Mark mentioned, it's 74 acres just southwest of the village. It's really rural in character, but what's great about the site is that it has wooded areas all along the boundaries of the site, which create a great buffer from road noise, as well as buffering surrounding neighbors from the park amenities. There's some already existing entry points to the site, one off of Chicken Plant Road where there is a gravel parking lot. And then there's another opportunity for a site entry point off of Bowman Road. Some of the other things we caught on site were some great opportunities for some environmental features. The Sandy Run Creek runs along the eastern property, and some surrounding wetlands may pose a little bit of a constraint to design, but they're also a really unique feature to the site. Another site feature is the pond in the middle of it. It's a great feature visually. It can or may provide some level of constraint because there needs to be further investigation on the stability of the dam, and also there's not a reliable water source, so the water does ebb quite a bit during dry season. So this is just a general overview of the site to help you understand what we saw during our site visit. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jen, and we're going to get to know you guys a little better.
Hey, thanks, Julie. Appreciate that. Before we do the get to know you, I wanted to ask, it just kind of came to me that it might be a good idea to ask if y'all have any questions about the site while we still are, while Julie is here to answer those questions. And if you do have questions, just type them into the chat and we'll give you a couple of minutes to think about that. Okay, great question, Kim. Julie, can you explain what an ecotone is?
An ecotone is just a general sort of way to describe the different ecologies on the site. An ecotone would be like the lower wetland areas that are wooded, and that's one ecotone that's unique to it. And then another ecotone would be the wide open, flat field areas. So that is just sort of a fancy way to say like the ecologies on the site.
All right. It's interesting. You're welcome, Kim. We appreciate the question. All right, we got a great question here. Are we aware that the pond has venomous snakes? Can we talk about that to any degree?
Well, during our site visit, we did, I believe there are signs out there to warn users of the park that there is a possibility of them out there. I defer to Mark and or Dave if there's any specific reason for those signs, if there's actually been issues with them on site.
We've not had issues, but they have certainly been seen around the pond area and the disc golf holes that cross those wetlands there on the 15th and 16th hole, as you can see below the pond. That's basically why the signs are out there, to alert folks of the potential to cross paths with, a snake. And certainly that is probably on any property that you're out on, private or public, you're going to come across wildlife. So.
And specifically in like low-lying wet areas, the snakes are typically attracted to the water of portions of the site. That's why those signs exist.
Yeah, and I was going to say, the more people that are around, the more likely the snakes are to kind of stay in their lane. We got another question. What utilities are available? That's a great question.
Mark and Dave, please feel free to correct me if I'm incorrect on this, but I do believe that obviously there is power out on the site, but there are going to be limitations to available water and sewer. There will have to be some investment infrastructure to get that to the site, correct?
That is correct, yes. There was an old home site on the property when the village purchased it, but they had a well and a septic tank. So certainly water, sewer, access to power are going to be some of the first things that will have to take place in order to start development of the site.
All right. Last chance for questions. All right, good question. Thank you, Todd Stevens. Is the intent to leave and or maintain the disc golf course? And a lot of these questions, guys, we are going to go, we are referring to Mark and Dave as our source for the answers to the majority of these questions.
And in terms of the disc golf course, certainly the intent is to maintain the course. Might some holes have to be shifted depending on what other amenities are added to the park or trying to get access to the pond, the wetland areas. For example, if we want to put in some walking, hiking trails or a mountain bike trail, we may have to we want to try to route that around the existing disc golf course. But I would not be surprised if we have to make some changes to the layout, but we would certainly, talk with our disc golf group here that's local and our designer, Stan McDaniels, who laid out that course for us before any of that would take place. But it's certainly there's certainly a chance that that could happen.
All right. Any last questions? Or I shouldn't say last questions, but is there any questions before we move on?
There was
All
one
right.
question, Jen. There was one question about skate park.
Okay, my bad.
It was
I
an
guess I
earlier
didn't see it.
comment.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, I see it now. I see skate park question mark. Yes, skate park.
Yes, skate park. It's something that can definitely be considered as the design. There's some opportunities for topography to look into how we can incorporate that.
Okay. Perfect. All right, well, let's go ahead, or even just a flat slab. Yeah, I think Julie just spoke to that the topography could potentially accommodate a skate pad or park. All right, so let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. We're gonna use an app, or it's actually a website. It's really easy to access. I'm gonna go ahead and Sonia, can you share the next slide? All right, so this is a poll site. We're gonna be asking a few poll questions about you and how you interact with the park, if you've been to the park. So take a couple minutes, guys, and if you can use this either from your phone or from your web browser. So you can go ahead and use your web browser either on your phone or on your computer and type in www.menti.com, and then it'll ask you for a code. Or you can just use your phone right now and scan that QR code and it will take you to the site. So we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to do that. And if you could just do me a thumbs up in the chat, or just say, hey, I'm in, or I'm having a problem, just so I can get an idea of how much time we need to do this. See a thumbs up. Okay. But if anyone's having trouble, again, the instructions are in your web browser, www.menti.com, and then that code right there, 9727-9877, or you can scan that QR code. And if you aren't able to get into that, I'm going to read the question out loud, so you can just type it into the chat. So that'll solve that problem. All right, here we go. All right, so the first question was, what is your age? We've got a good range of ages over here. Looks like the youngest folks are 25. Some of our older ages are 62, with a range of in between. There's some 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds. it's a good mix. It's good to see that a wide age demographic is represented, so that we can really get an idea of the types of amenities out at the park that kind of spans different generations and different ages. Yep.
Do we wait on you to see the next slide? Is that what it is?
Yes. Yep. And you should be seeing that now. We're just asking you if you're a village resident. So it looks like the majority of, well, it's almost about half yes, or majority yes, and 4 said no. So if you're not a resident of the village, we're gonna find out where actually you reside, and you can just type that in open-ended. And then Sonia's monitoring the chat in Zoom, so we'll be able to capture your answers if you're not using Mentimeter. All right, our 4 non-residents are from Carthage, Southern Pines. We've got somebody from Pinehurst and have also lived in Southern Pines previously. Gotcha.
And we have one in the chat from Southern Pines also.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Let's talk about how y'all have interacted with the park. Have you been to the park?
Everyone can keep in mind too, this is anonymous, so no one will be able to tie your responses to who you are. So the more information you can provide, the better.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, the majority of us have visited the park.
We have 2 yeses, 3 yeses, and 1 no in the chat box.
All right, perfect.
Mhm.
And to get an idea of how this plan may move forward, we'd like to ask y'all, if you have visited the park, what you enjoy doing there and what you might have done there.
Is this a choose all that apply?
This is a choose all that apply, correct?
Got it. Thanks.
We have additional ones coming in the chat box that have walked my dogs, brought my dogs, kids playing.
All right. Let's give you 2 more seconds. I think we've got all of their feedback. All right. It looks like the most widely participated activity is playing disc golf and walking, followed by bringing your dog. It is a really awesome place to bring your dog. I thought of that when I went out there. It's like my dogs would love running around out here. Folks have gathered with others and they've used the open field for an activity and have also exercised. Okay, this is my little trivia question before we move on. The question is, what famous American sharpshooter had resided in Pinehurst?
Oh, wow.
I love this. This is fantastic.
I told you everybody would get this one right.
I know it. And I'm so excited about that. Did anybody type it in the chat? Like,
Yes, Annie Oakley. We've got 3 in the chat so far.
thank you. Thank you guys so much for humoring me with that. we really, really appreciate your feedback on these questions. This information will be used to create a framework for the plan. And we really do appreciate that. Rachel, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
I think you've covered it and talked a little bit about it at the beginning. Anytime we create a master plan for a park, we want to show the direct relationship between the community's input and the amenities that we ultimately end up proposing for the park. So that's our ultimate goal, and you'll be able to provide us with feedback at the next input meeting as to whether or not we were successful doing that. So that'll be our benchmark.
Right. Right, thank you. All right, we'll transition into the second part of our public input. Again, the purpose of this meeting really is not to listen to us talk so much. We want to hear y'all talk. We want to hear what you want. And we're going to give you every opportunity to do that. And I'm going to encourage y'all again to please, please, please just use the chat all day long. That's what it's there for. If you're not comfortable with these other platforms that we're using, just keep on in the chat and we will get to your questions. And just to piggyback on what Julie had said, I completely agree 100% that it's a really interesting site. When I did my site visit, I was just really taken in by the range of ecotones, maybe, that there's a ton of wide open flat space that is super usable for development. There's access to water. It's really pretty. The trails are awesome. I really did get in like a good workout with Dave when we hiked through the disc golf course. So it was really enjoyable. And I just see so much potential in this park. And we want to know what y'all think. Next slide, please. Okay, don't get intimidated by these instructions. I promise it's going to work out. Okay, so I'm going to type in, or I'm going to drop a link into the chat that will take you to what we're calling a concept board, where you'll be able to drop some sticky notes into a virtual whiteboard.
Oh my God.
And please just use the chat if you aren't feeling comfortable with this, but let's go ahead and give it a try.
Good grief.
Hang on, everyone. I promise it'll be worth it.
It will.
So what you'll be able to do is provide your exact feedback on what you want to see here with some virtual stickies. So this is a really cool tool, and you'll be able to say you learned a new cool virtual tool today.
Okay, so I've just entered the link into the chat, and you can just click on that link and it's going to pull up a screen where it's going to ask you to either log in or use a guest access, and you just have to use guest access. There's no login necessary.
And we're here for you if anyone has challenges with this. We'll walk you through it.
Yes, absolutely.
And we can see when you've joined. So Kevin just joined. Julie, this part is not anonymous. I mean, I guess just your first name. So if you want to swear at us for making you use all sorts of technology, maybe don't do it this time around.
Okay.
Can you go back to the other screen so we can get the whole link? Because I have to do it on my computer and my phone.
Sure.
Thanks.
Sonia, you can share your screen so that folks can grab that link.
And Jen, I joined, but I am not going to participate since I am staff, but I want to just see responses. So.
Okay. And there's the link in the chat. Is everybody okay with us switching back over to concept board? All right, guys. So you want to grab the hand tool. Yep, y'all are getting it before I even can tell you. You underestimated yourselves.
We've got some coming in the chat also, Jen.
All right.
Share those with you. Nick says it needs a kids playground. Amanda shared, I drive by the park every morning and there are a lot of dog walkers there. Ellen asked, will there be undercover areas for use, like an arena, which we can come back to on the questions, or just add it as a comment. J.G. Cummings said a wide open flat space sounds great for a skate park. Kim is giving Miss Jane shout outs and saying, hang in there. Nick, Nick says he lives by, loves, go back up. Loves having a park nearby, but Chicken Plant Road needs to be repaved. And then Shannon shares, who all here thinks a skate park would give our kids, teenagers, and adults the opportunity to exercise, be outdoors, and develop their own community in a safe environment. It's an activity that does not yet exist in Moore County that would add so much value to the city of Pinehurst. Amanda agrees that Chicken Plant Road definitely needs to be repaved.
Yep, we've got a
JG.
lot of feedback coming in
Yeah.
about the skate park.
Yeah, J.G. Cummings agrees with Shannon and says the city of Pinehurst and surrounding areas has not had a skate park in over a decade. There's a massive amount of people who enjoy this activity in the community and have to drive upwards of an hour to places like Apex and Fayetteville in order to do so. Your first post about what we like to do, see built, has upwards of 100 plus comments asking for a skate park. So it would be amazing to see that come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to review some of the ones, Jen, and then I'll come back to the chat box?
Yes, for sure. And folks can see each other's inserts, so that's good too. So we've got, this board is a quadrant board where there are 4 questions essentially in one board. So we've asked on this board what types of facilities for youth you would like to see at the park, what types of facilities for adults you would like to see at the park, and then what types of recreational programs for youth they'd like to see, and what types of recreational programs for adults they'd like to see. So there's a little bit of a different take, and we can go through those. It looks like folks are reporting wanting playgrounds for the youth, skate parks. For adults, we have mountain bike trails, skate parks, dog parks. We had, Kevin said that a dog park seems natural. A big playground for kids and a skate bike park in a dog area. And types of programs for youth, folks are saying that kids need a place to use their bikes and skateboards. And then a place where they can train a dog off leash. So yeah, another dog park comment. And y'all could think about the types of programs you could potentially see out there, maybe like some in terms of sports or activities. what you might envision out there. I envision sometimes like the biggest game of Red Rover ever. That's just because
awesome, Jen.
that's just because I was a camp counselor, and it's like just absolutely fitting. And these comments, we're gonna save them. So these are not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna capture them and download them as data that will be incorporated into this plan.
I'll share some more here, Jen. Let's see.
Yes, please.
So we've got a couple more came in. The park needs a covered playground for kids of all ages. Keeping the acreage rural, like the neighborhood in which it's located, respect dark night skies. Keep the park as natural as possible. Keep the walking paths in the woods. Consider an equine riding center. We've got a couple of those comments. We'd like to see the trees stay and less buildings. Keep the area rural. A comment about the skate park. Unfortunately, the Engage map was hijacked by teens who wanted a skate park and entered skate park multiple times. The numbers are misleading. No mountain bikes. Agree with the unique play structures. The acreage is set in a rural area. Definitely keep as natural as possible. Yeah. Keep the noise down. Oh, and there's the opposite. Keep the noise up.
Yeah, we did in the concept board actually have a comment about a concert venue, a public concert venue.
We have one on the natural setting. It's still its greatest asset. Yes, a music venue. No concert venue. They currently have a venue in the village already. So alternate perspectives on concert venues. Live here and like the peacefulness.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, it looks like folks have quieted down on the concept board. So I'm going to stop my share.
Okay.
And we can go back to the PowerPoint.
All righty, let's do that. And I think we've had our community conversation. Let's go with our last slide.
We have about 15 minutes, guys. So if you've got more questions and comments, feel free. All right, that might have done it.
All right.
Thank you, JG Cummings, for your comment. We absolutely enjoyed engaging with you, and thank you for hanging in and getting in on that technology for me. And it seemed to work wonderful, and I so appreciate that, because I was a little unsure, but we did it.
Excuse me, if I can say something, I am a community member and I live down the street from this park that has slowly developed, and I just want to make sure that the park doesn't turn into, we've been living there for 11 years, and we like the peacefulness out that way. We would love for the park to be more of a community park where we see more people come down that way, but we want to make sure that it stays something that is more peaceful and natural in nature. Keep the woods, build, a tree house, some sort of facility for the kids, but keep it as natural as possible. Because I mean, we do live there, and I drive by there every single day on my way to work, on my way home. My kids go walking there frequently. You know, the second entrance is going to be right in front of our neighborhood, and we really want to be proactive and involved and have our opinions heard about what does go here, because we do love to see the people out there playing Frisbee golf. We do love to see every morning these people come in and walk their dogs all the time, and it's a very nice area. But we just want to make sure that the community stays involved like you guys are doing. We appreciate this open forum about it. I just wanted to make sure that I was able to express my opinions, so everyone can know that, you know, people still live out there, to definitely not turn it into another concert venue, because it is peaceful and quiet. There's lots of nature out there, lots of deer, lots of turkeys, lots of the black squirrels. I see them every day on my way home and way to work. So keep it as natural as possible if that's always considered in your plans. But thank you for letting me voice my opinion.
Oh, absolutely, Amanda. We are so glad that you were here, because that's exactly what we need to hear. We need to hear those thoughts.
And I know that there's a community across the street that has horses, and around that area, I know there's lots of new kids and the new developments in that area. So this development's going to be great for everyone, but we do still have you know, farm life that live out in that area, and we like to keep it rural as possible. And thank you again.
Thank you, Amanda. If anybody wants to unmute their mic or raise their hands and talk like Amanda just did, that was actually really refreshing. If anyone is inclined to do that, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, we've still got 15 minutes. So when we say community conversation, we really want to chat with y'all and hear your perspective, your thoughts. You're the ones who live by the park and will be using the park. So your input is most important.
I got a silly thing to say. I'm out there all the time, and I'm under attack by sand spurs out there. I don't know why it's a sand spur environment, but it's like the center of the sand spur universe out there, you know. So it's just an interesting little piece of information that you know, you gotta like remove them from your dog every time you go out there. And I thought that was interesting.
No, that is interesting. And since so many people do enjoy taking their dogs out here, you know, when we're thinking about disturbing a site and possibly doing some revegetation, it's going to be important that we take a look at that.
Do you notice?
This is,
Oh, I just want to ask, did you notice the sand spurs are a problem in one particular area of the site?
Yes, it's the right side.
Mm.
Off of, if you go in off Chicken Plant. So that's true. It's isolated, but you know, I do agree with the people that think it should be a natural. Doesn't mean there's not facilities for kids, but I'd love my kids to interact with the natural world more, and I think a lot of people would.
yeah, this is Jane speaking. This park and 67 acres sounds like a lot, 74, I guess, with a new piece added at the bottom. But this is on the edge of an enormous area between Pinehurst and the little town of Foxfire, farther west, which is a large rural area. And there are a lot of horse farms, other kinds of farms, a lot of wetlands, and North Carolina, special North Carolina ecosystems here. And this piece of land is an opportunity to be used in a way that enhances that natural setting rather than destroying the natural setting. And I would hope that the park would be kept rural and used for perhaps an equine center where people could ride or learn to ride, or riding trails. There would still be room for a playground, for example. But I would hope that it is not changed into a whole bunch of buildings with, big lights that are up all night and all that kind of thing. That would be, I think, a disservice to the people who live in the area and who live there because they want to be in a rural setting. I would much rather see this park reflect the ruralness and the wonderful natural resource that it is, as part of this larger natural area where we are, and be a protective buffer for it. Thank you.
And just so you know, living off of Bowman Road, we have, like everyone, like you mentioned earlier, the amenities are very minimal. I mean, we live on well and septic, but the internet sources, I mean, that has been a struggle for the past 10, 11 years that we've been out there, and we still have a very horrible time getting Wi-Fi and internet out that way because it is rural, which we would love to have better internet service because it would save on a lot of our own home, bills and stuff, make it a lot easier to have a better Wi-Fi. Then we don't have to pay for direct TV kind of stuff, but that would be a benefit of being able to bring some sort of Wi-Fi access to that area if they're able to provide it with the community around us. And I do agree with Jane that it definitely needs to stay rural for that area, just because it's a beautiful area right outside of Pinehurst and between Foxfire, and that's why we picked to live there.
JG Cummings, where in the world did you get those little skate icons?
I was wondering the same thing.
Got another about 10 minutes, so the time is available for y'all.
I'll put a plug in real quickly for tonight's public meeting. So we're doing this same presentation and soliciting the same feedback tonight. Jen, what time does that one start? 6:30?
That is it. Am I muted?
No, we can hear you.
Let me make sure that it's not Sonia. I have 6 o'clock, but okay, 6:30. 6:30 for the public, 6 o'clock for us to get started.
Correct, 6:30.
Perfect.
So if you know anyone who's interested in the project but couldn't make it this morning and would like to attend, or if you just thought it was a good information meeting and would like other people to give their feedback, please direct them to the meeting that's happening tonight. We would love to see some more folks provide as much input as possible.
Absolutely.
Is there actually going to be plans or ideas that are drawn up by you guys that are being presented, or is this just a step-by-step process?
There will be plans, so we'll take this information and we've also got some other data about just things in general that would work or wouldn't work for the site. We design a lot of parks in general, so we've got a toolbox ourselves, and we'll combine that from the input that we've received today and develop a concept for a proposed park, and then we'll be sharing that with the public later in the summer to get your feedback on the things you like about it, don't like about it, where you might want things to be changed or revised. And then we will be making those changes, incorporating any comments and providing a final master plan for the village. And the thing to keep in mind about a master plan is that it is a living document. So depending on available budget for construction, this might be a phased implementation. So implemented over a few different years as funding becomes available. And between that first phase and second phase, there might be a new recreation trend, or there might be new utilities available in the area, or something that's going to impact the master plan, hopefully in a positive way. But there is room for flexibility for things to evolve and change over time.
Thank you.
And Sonia, if you can move to the next slide, this is where we can make an announcement about the survey going live. If Rachel, this is another way we will get feedback.
So even if you
Sharon-
attended today, we would love for you to fill out this survey. We're hoping to get a really representative set of responses. Please pass this link on to other folks you know.
And the village will also be posting this survey link on our social media pages, the village website, the Engage Pinehurst site, which some of you may have visited, where you saw all the pins dropped on the property with amenities. So the village will be pushing this out as well so that we can get as much feedback from residents as possible.
And Jen, could you maybe drop that link, or Sonia, drop that link in the chat box for the survey, please?
Yes, I will. Just give me 1 second.
And like Mark mentioned, the survey is going to be on our Engage Pinehurst site, and that will be available until the 17th of May. So you have, it'll get posted up here after this meeting, and then it'll be available until the 17th of May to fill out the survey.
And like JG's already started, you can start filling that out now. You can simply click that link that's in the chat box there, the HPS rebrand link, and that will take you directly to the survey.
Well, we really appreciate y'all's participation today. I don't know if Rachel, you had any last final thoughts, comments?
I don't think so. Just thank you for joining. Please pass on the word, even if people can't attend the meeting this evening. We would love their feedback through the survey. So do pass on that link. It's a quick survey, so not a big time commitment. I know everyone's surveyed to death these days, but it does mean a lot to us. It means a lot to the project to hear your voice. And I think that's it. You'll be hearing from us again later this summer, when you can expect the concept for the park to be presented. So if you are curious about that, just as Mark mentioned, stay in touch on the Pinehurst Community Engagement website, and we will be advertising for the next public input meeting there.
All right, thanks, Rachel, and thanks everybody so much. Mark and Dave, you guys are great. Thank you. We'll see you this evening.
Thank
All
you,
right, thanks,
everybody. We
everyone.
Thanks,
appreciate it.
everyone.
All right,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate all you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi.
Hey, hold on, let me end the record.
Okay.